The boys versus the girls election. Women across the nation overwhelmingly backing Harris as men rally to Trump's side. How this unprecedented gender gap will impact who wins the White House in November. Welcome to the No Spin Zone. Graph's Grievances starts right now. In August of 1920, women in the United States were given the right to vote with the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Yet even then, opposition to women's suffrage in many corners of the country remained strong. It would take years, in some cases decades, for black and other minority women in America to enjoy the freedom to cast a ballot easily and without fear. But since 1980, women have registered and voted at higher rates than men in every presidential election and every non-presidential election year, with the exception of 1994. And this turnout rate started to have big implications in 1996. That year, for the first time, a majority of female voters chose the Democratic candidate, Bill Clinton, while the majority of male voters chose the Republican candidate, Bob Dole. Prior to 1996, this had never happened. Clinton winning re-election on the back of the female vote. And since 1996, with the exception of 2008, a majority of women have favored the Democratic candidate, while the majority of men have favored the Republican candidate. This split increasingly becoming more pronounced. The gender gap, or the difference between the percentage of women and the percentage of men voting for the winning candidate, growing every year since 2008. That year, the gap between the percentage of men and the percentage of women voting for Obama was 7 points. By 2012, that number increased to 10 points. And in 2016, there was an 11-point gap, Trump winning 52% of men and 41% of women. And in 2020, there was a 12-point gap, Biden winning 57% of women and just 45% of men. And I realize I just threw a bunch of numbers at you, but the bottom line is that gender is critical to determining not only how one will vote, but who will win the presidency. As remember, women vote at a greater percentage than men, and of course, there are simply more adult women than men in the population, especially among the elderly. So what does this all mean as we are now just days away from Election Day, and polling indicates that the gender gap will be greater than ever? With an historic percentage of women voting for Kamala Harris and a historic percentage of men voting for Donald Trump. According to a new poll from American University, Harris has a 15-point lead over Trump with women nationally. And 55% of women view Harris positively, while 57% of women view Trump unfavorably. All of this, no doubt, good news for Harris. But in the closing days of her campaign, she needs to double down on the issues women care most about to make sure they turn out for her. Which means abortion rights and Trump's misogyny need to be front and center every time she speaks. Yes, the politically engaged know about these issues very, very well. But the key to a Harris victory could be drawing out just a few additional infrequent or first-time female voters in key swing states. Harris should remind women ad nauseum that Trump took away their right to an abortion and will try to ban the procedure nationally if he is reelected. Harris should remind women that Trump was found by a jury to have raped a reporter. And Harris should remind women that Trump's running mate has repeatedly attacked women who cannot have biological children or choose not to have children. And you might think these are niche issues, but what we have seen time and time again, even in the most conservative places such as Kansas, Kentucky, and Ohio, is that when protecting female reproductive rights is on the ballot, it wins. So Harris wants to be synonymous with that issue. This is not the time to relitigate inflation, foreign policy, or taxes. The time for those arguments is past. Now is the time to zero in and get as many women as possible out to vote. Thank you for watching Graf's Grievances. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, share, and join me in the next one.